What is up? Welcome back to Discover Crypto on a day where it feels like the bull run is over, but no, it's not, because data says it's got to go into 2026. But then we get word that basically every single person that owns a computer is at risk of being hacked now, apparently. But we're going to get into that data here in a little bit. We got Joshua Jake back from the other side of the world. You see that Balinese tan on his skin, but he posted this little thing real quick. I just want to show you all. He posted this. He said, if you could only pick one altcoin to add to this portfolio, what would you add? So everybody out there tuned in right now, drop in what you would add, not why you think this one's good or that one sucks. No, who cares? Type in what you would add. And Josh, how you doing, brother?
Dude, I am doing fantastic. And I think that portfolio is actually pretty strong there. But XRP, Link, Tau, Pegu, Ondo, ETH, Arrow, WorldFi, and WorldCoin. Of course, guys, let us know what your number 10 would be for that. But it feels good to be back. I've heard so many stories from Kelly Kellum from all of his crazy travels across the world. If you guys don't know who Kelly Kellum is, I mean, man, this is the man who's been around the world. He has seen things I don't think anybody will ever see. And getting to experience that Balinese culture, dude, man, I did not want to leave. It's kind of like, it's like heaven on earth minus wild traffic.
Wait, here we go. Here's case in point.
Yeah.
Your Uber ride home was however much money, and it was just a ride from the airport. That's here in Atlanta. Now, how much could you have spent out? Like, what could you have done with just the Uber ride cost here in Atlanta with that money there in Bali?
I could have taken 300 rides on Gojek for one Uber ride in the United States. If you guys don't know what a Gojek is, Bali's an island, so everybody almost uses mopeds. Gojek is an app where you can ask a stranger to come pick you up on the back of a moped. And
so it's like somebody's like, yo, let's go, Jack.
Let's go, Jack. Let's go, Jack. That's what they say about me all the time. Yes, exactly. But it's about 30 to 50 cents for a 10 to 15 minute ride. So you guys can take the calculation there. The United States is massively inflated. Of course, it's definitely not a first world country, but man, it's got first world food. It's got first world culture, and it is like the best place in the world. Rip Curl was doing a competition. I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm just in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I used to live in Thailand, and it would always surprise me. You get used to it while you're there, and then you come back and you do anything. You go get a Coca-Cola at a restaurant, and it's $6. You're like, wait a minute, this is like a nice meal for two back on the other side of the pond. But, this kind of goes to really like highlight one of these points right here that we've all been talking about, and that is this. As boring as this may seem, this is why you have to invest. It took over 200 years just to get to $1 trillion in debt. And now we do it about every 2 to 3 months, an additional $1 trillion added. But we're not going to talk about the boring data here. We're going to cover some things, but we want to dive in to the charts and see what's moving today and see what kind of signals we're looking at.
I was covering some things right there if you didn't get what I was doing. But yeah, lots to break down. Obviously, so much has happened in just the last month. I think the biggest conversation is going to be what altcoin should be watching for, what trade should he be taking, and more importantly, how do you prepare for what is to come? And actually, what is to come? Well, something is coming a lot, and that is the Jerome Powell Fed Watch Tools here is indicating now that what is coming is a multi-interest rate cut potentially, at least getting that 25 basis points. So there's 25 different points coming. I got to get out of this. Pull me away from this. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. 11.6%, 50% chance now, or a percent chance on a 50 basis point rate cut. So we are now 100% dialed in, chat, for the 25 basis point rate cut in September. Yet somehow, Kelly, people are saying that we are not in a bear market. Chat, let us know right now. Me and Kelly will be breaking this down in the next 30 to 45 minutes with you guys. But do you believe we're in a bull market or in a bear market? Because there's actually a lot of people out there saying, Josh, when are you going to admit it's a bear market? When are you going to admit alt season is never coming? And that is what we're breaking down in these charts today.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more with you. And, I just want to go over some super fundamental basics here. And that is this right here. Let me go ahead and throw up my screen. I'm going to turn off every line. We're just going to look at the price action, guys, gals, friends, countrymen. A bear market on any asset is not only, okay, you got a double top, but you need to have some other main components. You need to break down, which we have, okay, but we need to form a new low of this range and not this being the low of here. No, we need this low to not just be a retest of previous range highs. This is a bullish move to see price action come down and test a previous range high. Very huge amount of liquidity at this area, a lot of interest at the zone. And currently we are holding. Even if the price were to come down and drop a bit lower, even sub 100, even into that CME gap down in the 92, 93, $94,000 range, I still would be a bull, because what I would want to see is some confirming things. Case in point, I would like to see the price action. If it were to break down, I want to see on the rise, where does it reverse? Does it reverse and then form a new lower low? I would be exiting there if that was the case, if this started rolling over. However, I think considering, and I think you would agree with this, Josh, with everything on the horizon right now, we have QE all but telegraphed coming in about 8 days, 9 days. We've got runaway debt. We have a new bill here in the U.S. And whether you not like the president or not, ignore that when you're looking at the market. Figure out, how does this impact my long-term outlook? But better yet, how is this going to impact the other market participants' outlook in the market? The spending bill means they are going to have to print money in order to facilitate what they're doing. What does money printing do? It is gas in the car for the bulls to send these prices higher. So that's what I'm seeing.
I am seeing a lot of the same things here. Lovebreakers asked, Josh, were you in Birmingham Airport last week? I was a few weeks ago, but if you have your weeks conflated, that was back in probably early August. So that would have been interesting. I do have a twin out in the UK. Ultimately, though, Kelly, there's a lot on the charts we're going to be looking at here. I'll actually pull up one of the charts right now that I think people need to be watching at most effectively, which is going to be total 3. So we'll break this down more in this live stream. There is quite a few videos I want to break down with the community out there that are very important, that are just taking place. But if you guys zoom out on the weekly time frame, a lot of people don't want to admit. It's funny. They want me to admit we're not in an altcoin season, but they won't admit that we are. I think it's a very interesting thing that's happening in the industry right now, because total 3, guys, you can argue that, of course, over the last 5 years, there's been inflation. So yes, even though we're near all-time highs, if you adjust for inflation, I don't know exactly what that price point would be, but say you add, 10% to the value of, the dollar right now. The total 3 in 2021 hit a peak of $1.13 trillion. Right now, it's sitting at 1.07, approaching those previous all-time highs. So back to your point, Kelly, I don't know what bear market has ever seen up only in it, but to me, if you're looking at the course of the last few years, we are definitely in an uptrend, borderline going parabolic here. And I think that's what's so important about today's episode, guys. In this stream, we're going to be breaking down, what are we watching? Why is this market so different than the rest? People don't want to say that this time is different. I get that's very historically a terrible thing to say as a trader, but ultimately this time is very much, in every single data point is showing you otherwise. Of course, you got the 4-year cyclical cycle, which is just organic. That just, in my opinion, is confluence to, Satoshi Nakamoto releasing the white paper the day he did. He usually got these 4-year cycle of rotations with liquidity. It's around presidencies, around, regulation, deregulation, etc. But when you're looking at the next 10-year time horizon and what happened with institutions, the fact we hit all-time highs before the Bitcoin halving for the first time this cycle, the fact that Bitcoin's at all-time highs, but altcoins, even though aren't hitting 10, 20Xs, the total market cap of altcoins is at all-time highs. There's a lot of things you have to really look at that change the narrative on where this industry is heading. And if you don't prepare for that, and you're somehow preparing yourself for a 2021 bull run, I believe you're going to get stomped on by the institutions this cycle. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate truth.
I agree wholeheartedly. In fact, I want to show you this because on the same chart, this is that total 3 chart. This is a cycle of broken expectations. Everything is more bullish than we've ever seen it in the history of the crypto market. Think about what Bitcoin and every alt that you've made money on in the past, think about what it did leading up until January 20th of this year. It did everything in the face of the entire world government complex. Everything was set against Bitcoin and the crypto market. And the market performed amazingly. And now what we saw was the ETFs get launched back in January 11th, 2023. So there was a lot of institutional focus there. And then coming into a new administration and everything going on now since Trump and Paul Atkins and Besant and David Sachs. We have the entire world sort of corporate and financial elite now saying Bitcoin, digital assets, blockchain, and people are worried here. It blows my mind. I think because of all these bullish things, people keep expecting every $100 up on Bitcoin. That means parabolas here, let's go. And they forget that there's been such a corporate focus and a big dollar focus on Bitcoin for a good part of that 2023 into early 2025 timeframe. But then you also have the corporate treasuries as well. But what shifted this year in July when we got legislation, the legislation kind of fully catalyzed the corporate okayedness for altcoins, for blockchain, for stable coins. And we've already seen movement on that with now seeing ETH treasury companies, Tom Lee stacking up. What do you say? He proposed like a $20 billion stack. We also have SharpLink. There's a number of others. There's ETFs now for altcoins. And so this does not look bearish to me. This looks like they've taken advantage of hope. They sold off into you. They've taken advantage of hope. They sold off into you. But those that have been stacking like you, Josh, like me, like most of you that are in this audience, this gets scary. But take that fear and say, oh, this tends to be an incredible signal in the market when there's fear there, because it's always proven, especially in a bull trend like we're in now, that the best is yet to come, especially considering with altcoins that we did not get the big money go ahead until July. I fully, vehemently believe, even if we get a sell-off later this year, I think we're going to be pushing up well into 2026.
Yeah, and I think something I've been talking about here a lot with everybody is going to be just capitulation. It's, the institutions here. It's why I trade liquidations, which right now, guys, we are in an open trade up roughly $3,200. So this trading strategy does work. I do want to see this bull div start to turn the price of this market back around here. We're expecting to push to 113K soon. But, what people need to pay attention to this cycle, and here you guys go, I'll zoom in on here so you can see the Discord's printing. What people need to realize is here is even if Bitcoin goes up to $200,000, it doesn't mean your altcoins have to do 5, 10, 15, 20 X's. And the reason why I say this is because historical data is starting to show that we're getting this stair-step action in Bitcoin's price action where altcoins bleed against Bitcoin. And not in the sense that altcoins aren't seeing more money or inflow into the ecosystem. It's just the altcoin ecosystem is growing so vastly, the same amount of money is flowing into it at a much more saturated rate. So what you're saying is now these stair steps, and I'll explain this on the chart here. Look at this, right? On Bitcoin, this is what I'm going to call the stairs, okay? What are stairs? Well, stairs are you come up, you have a step. 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 You come up, you have a step, right? And what hurts retail is retail never wants to take the step. They want to wait until the step is placed to stand on it, okay? Notice how this draws out a dick, and that's where you get dicked, because retail continues to get dicked every single time. Now, I'm just kidding for the vivid imagery.
Well, what hurts retail here... They think the stair is a platform to dive off of, and then they wonder why when they dive off, they hit concrete. Because it's not a diving board. It's a stairway in a very strong bullish trend with the world opening up in this emerging market. Will we see dips? Yes. And I pointed this regularly on the BitLab Morning BitLab show that in 2017, there was 11 dips of 15% or more. 11. Mm-hmm. Now, 8 of those dips were 30 to 45% dips on the down where everybody thought the market was going to crash. And we've only seen more of the same this cycle, with the difference being longer periods of accumulation or the longer period of corrective time frame happening here. So this is one of the reasons why I think the cycle will be extended.
Yeah, and here's a 30% pullback, right? Remember, everybody, when we went to $75,000, everybody was screaming bull market over. Boom, huge extension higher, right? Then we went up to $200. Again, 30% pullback. What happened? Everybody started screaming bear market again. You get another leg up. Boom, you go to all-time highs, 112,000. What happened? 12% pullback. Boom, you run up to 125K. What happens? 14, 15% pullback. So it is not at all out of the ordinary that you get pullbacks or corrections and massive extensions higher. The problem this time around is if you're not prepared for an extension, notice how this happens in the time span of 3 weeks, right? In 3 weeks, you get massive upside action. And then over 6 months, if not a couple months, you get consolidation and downside action. That is what capitulates retail out of the market. This is why retail doesn't feel like we're in an alt season, because as institutions pump all of their money into Bitcoin and then roll that money into altcoins, retail finally decides to FOMO in after the extension takes place. So this is why I trade liquidations. This is why I trade liquidities. I'm going to teach you guys something very important right now in this market. If you guys don't know, I trade liquidations because I want to identify the two areas that are most likely to wreck retail. What do I mean by this? In our market, there is A books and B books. What A books and B books do, all you need to know is give the exchanges and the market makers all of the data, all of your transactions, how much profit you have, how much money you've lost, how much money you deposit, how much money you have on, some of you are connected to your bank accounts. If you KYC, they have all the data points to how much money you have, how much you can transact, how much you capitulate, and how much you can spend. Why is that important? That's important because as institutions come into this market, they're incentivized. And if you guys don't know how capitalism works, capitalism is based off incentivization. So when there is money to be made and there's an incentive to get to that point, institutions or market makers are going to do everything in their favor to get to that position. So what does that look like? Well, in this case, you can see two bright yellow lines. What that identifies is an area of major stop losses or liquidations, okay? So if Bitcoin goes up to this price range, a lot of people are getting stopped out. If Bitcoin goes to this price range, a lot of people are getting priced out. The people that don't get priced out are the people that are in between the range. They're safe, right? This is why you want to enter when I trade this way. If I see the Bitcoin price wipe all these positions and it's all yellow above us, what am I going to do? I'm going to enter a trade to catch a long. If it's vice versa, I'm going to catch a short. So that is why trading liquidations, I think, is so important this cycle, because if you understand this is an institutional game, you can always bet on the fact that institutions are going to drive the price to the max pain point. And max pain is very, very flexible. But if you can identify those key points or those key ranges, that is how retail loses and institutions win. And you continuously see stair steps up in this market while retail thinks nothing's happening, no money's being made. Institutions are reaping all the benefits.
Well, the best thing about that on those liquidation charts, when you look at the liquidity in a chart, for instance, if we come right here, I'm going to flip back over to mine real quick.
Like turtles.
Looking at this liquidity, he just pointed out something beautiful, essentially, and he kind of uses the same terminology I do. I think of the price like a bug, like a moth. These are bright lights. Where do bugs go? They gravitate towards the brightest light. Now, this one's very close to this bright light here. A lot of liquidity in the chart. So these are people that have gone short. And so if the price goes into this area, all of this amount of liquidity, this is 52 million, 42 million, 39 million, all that will be forced to close. In order to close a short, essentially, it is a forced buy in the market. So this gives the market makers a huge amount of ability to understand where the health of the market is, because they can sort of incentivize and also push bids to get the price to go up into this area, force these closures, which will basically give them liquidity and move the price into the zone. And what you will get in this case would be a short squeeze where the price might move kind of quickly up through this. And then the question's going to be right after that, do the bulls come in and actually defend by actually putting healthy new buy orders in, which is then you get the sustained move to the upside. If not, then what do you see on the chart? Every one of us has seen this, especially if you're watching this channel. We talk about it regularly. Let's go over to like a 4-hour chart. When you're this right here, great. This was a bit of a short squeeze. It came up into this. The bulls were having trouble defending it, so it drops back down. This is a Bart Simpson pattern, very crude terminology for that pattern. But what it is you get an inefficient move. Price is trying to sustain, but it was an inefficient move to get there. So the price comes back down to see where the bulls defend. In this case, you did form a new higher low from all of this zone, right? So you retested previous range high, continue to the upside. And so when you're seeing the price action do these very quick moves up, especially when the price is already moving up and then it just shoots, a lot of times there's a bit of a liquidity zone that was just tapped, and then you get this forced buying or forced closing, selling if it's going to the downside. So you can use these zones to your advantage, even if you don't catch it before it moves through. Always, it's okay to wait for a little bit of a pullback See if there's on the pullback a little bit of strength coming in, showing that the bulls are defending that zone before you enter. Then you can wait for the big move, have it soften, see the strength come in, you get the confirmed move, and you can be a lot safer there. If you're a DJ like Josh and I, and like a lot of you out there, then you can catch some moves ahead of time. Just use proper risk management.
100%. And we do got some breaking news coming out of the hack we were covering. It looks like a total of $20 has been drained so far. So it looks like that centralized exchanges and trading platforms are not affected at this point. So just to all the people that are screaming out there, you want to be careful. I'd still maybe not make any transactions for the next couple of hours, but it does look like Phantom already came out too as well, by the way. Let me see if I have the tab open somewhere. I know I do. It's one of the million tabs, but Phantom came out, said that they're not affected. Multiple hardware wallets are saying they're not affected. I think MetaMask came out. So just be cautious, guys. But yeah, the attacker has made a total of $20. Not been the most effective.
I will say, even though maybe it's only $20 currently as it stands, they're basically the big issue with this and why it is a little scary is that whatever happened within this hack actually got basically installed very bad software into public folders that get regularly downloaded when apps auto update and stuff like that. These libraries that this exploit is in has over 2 billion weekly downloads. Already 1 billion downloads have happened of it. So it may be something that may be lying await for later. But what this really does, if anything, and I think you would agree with this, Josh, that's why we're very proud to be partnered with Arculus. Head over to getarculus.com. Use code DC20. Protect your crypto so you can secure your future, guys, because hardware wallets are case in point right now. Cold wallets are case in point right now. One of those things that you need to really take a lot of authority on yourself and responsibility, because there's going to be more things like this and things that go under the radar that could affect. I mean, I had $30,000 stolen out of my Coinbase account 2 years ago. Luckily, I was able to get it all back, but it really taps into the worst part of fear and the worst moment that anybody can be had. So protect yourself. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, and for anybody that does lose money on this through these wallets, you're more than likely going to get it back for them. But yeah, I don't know. I think this attack was identified today. It was a new thing today. So I don't necessarily know, guys. Just make sure, again, you're protecting yourselves, and we'll kind of cover it more as it releases. Obviously, we're not engineers. So we can't necessarily tell you what the code looks like on the reverse side of things. But
you know what we do?
Go for it.
We can look at these coins that we want to highlight. We got them on the thumbnail: Chainlink, Ethereum, Solana, Ondo. We got the world burning down with Jerome Powell looking surprised on his face. We got some major data coming due here in about 7-8 days here with the FOMC meeting. But we've also have some major news that we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, really the last year and a half, with some of these coins we have on the thumbnail and some that we haven't even listed. So let's look at some charts. Let's look at some levels. Let's give the people what they came for.
Yeah, and let me ask them real quick before we get to the charts here. We're going to cover all of these on the charts. If you had to choose, chat, I asked you earlier today what you would add to that top 10 portfolio. But if you had to choose between these 4 cryptocurrencies, I just saw this: Say, SWI, Aptos, or Solana. What are you choosing if you have to hold one of these tokens? Say, SWI, Aptos, or Solana. I'm interested in seeing what everybody has to say. Personally, what would you do, Kelly? SWI, Say, Aptos, or Solana?
Oh, man. I would probably go Say.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting it. Honestly, let's do this.
Me either. I wasn't expecting
that. Say my name.
Let's see. But you know what? That also here. Let me tell you something. This is how everybody should think about when you're looking at assets. I didn't do that because I like Say more, or I like Solana less, or Aptos. I was thinking about it in terms of what the composition of my portfolio currently is and what type of risk I would want to take on. More risk with better upside, or something that has very sort of locked into the ecosystem like Solana that is still going to have great upside, but maybe not as much, but is a little less high risk. So for that reason, and I've got a lot of pretty safe plays in my portfolio currently, that's why I would take on Say. But Solana, I think, could always be a pick to add to.
Yes, I mean, Say chart on the daily looks pretty honestly clean here in comparison to Solana here, already breaking towards all-time highs. Stochastic overextended. MACD does look good though. Plenty of room for Solana. So honestly, both of those look kind of pretty decent. There was SWI as well. I mean, you can kind of see the same altcoin rotation and formation taking place. This is also really nice. I mean, almost every single asset on the daily, it's an altcoin. That MACD is starting to turn over. That momentum is really starting to build here. And again, people need to remember that when the stochastic is overextended to the upside, generally when it's overextended to the upside or the downside, it stays there for a while. So stochastic just helps with that momentum rotation, and that the oscillators, I mean, look at the RSI. If the RSI does catch that, we could easily be seeing some decent upside back towards that 450 on even SWE there. I'd be very cautious of any shorts here. Aptos, though, man, I haven't heard anybody talk about Aptos. Did anyone in chat say Aptos? W or L in the chat for Aptos? I want to know what everybody in chat thinks. W or L for Aptos? Aptos, man, the worst performer out of the four. Interesting to see here.
But you know what? I also wanted to highlight, and I was not hating on Solana. Solana is looking pretty darn good. This is a 3-day chart. Now, why is this important? A lot of lines, everything cool. Let's kind of go over here to a cleaner chart. Let's go to a cleaner chart. We'll come right here, go down to Solana. Notice on Solana, if we're looking at this on the 3-day chart, this is wild to me. This is October 2021, this top right here. We draw a trend line from that all the way over here to March of 2024. Now we've got a trend line, and this has been fighting under this 4 or 5 year trend line, broke out, found support on it, and then lost it again, rejected on it. So we know this is a very valuable trend line that we're seeing here. And we have broken free of this multi-year trend line. Now we're not fully in the clear yet because we have this larger, this more recent move, I should say, and we're right at the golden pocket of this move currently. So as bullish as this is, because we're back above it, I'd be a little cautious here until we're able to clear this and find support above the 225 region, which is a level that I've been highlighting on the channel for about 9 months on the BitLab Academy channel. But this is looking good. If we do get a reversal, there's no reason to cry. We just talked about this earlier, how bullish things are looking forward. And if things are so bullish looking forward about what is to come, we should hope and pray that this gets rejected and comes down and bounces somewhere down back here in the $180 to $200 region, because that means you got more opportunity to stack before that continuation to the upside. If this does break free, great. Let's look for some sort of reversal here or back down here to this before that continuation. But really looking good for Solana in terms of the midterm macro on what it's looking like.
Yeah, no, Solana's I mean, most of these altcoins really are just looking, except Arkham. Arkham's dog shit, bro. What else we got here? Near protocol. Not a lot of volume on the near. AI sector has been a little bit more, I think it's losing kind of a lot of the hype. It's been pretty much dead. Look at Near, though. Near looking good, man. Near looking good. I'd say that 4 hour definitely sucks, but if you look at the daily, I'm sure it's going to say, yeah, daily tells you a different story. Again, I mean, everything here really showing that. I think if we go to ETH BTC now overextended on the daily. I do love to see this. And I actually drew out this channel 2 years ago at this point. This is a multi-year channel, guys. Multi-year channel on ETH BTC. We were able to predict the bottom with it. Once he broke out, got that reverse head and shoulders, it came right back up to the top of this range. We expected the resistance at that previous support, came right to that level, consolidated, broke out. Now we're looking at the same kind of functionality. Stochastic overextended, MACD overextended, RSI coming down, but you can see how it kind of snaps. So when you saw this back in, this would have been June of 2025, right? You had the oscillator come down. You had that price come down as well, just a little bit, but consolidation for a few months, kind of a bull flag category, stochastic, MACD, you got that stair step up. And again, we saw it again here with that overextension to the upside, very clear. We are looking to see a bit of a top out in terms of consolidation needing. It does look good here to see that we're going to be consolidating around this breakout level. Because if we could turn that into support,
and the RSI on the pullback is basically pulling back to above that 50 line.
Yep.
If that's the direction it pulls back to, maintains above 50 and finds support on that trend line that it just broke out of, that's the most bullish setup that we're seeing. That means the alt move, even ETH, for how far it's moved recently in the last 4 months, it's only now, if this confirms, that's when the real move starts.
Yeah, and I think that next move, if you guys want to target here, I've already drawn it out. We're looking at that next major resistance level towards 0.0572. In my opinion, that's pushing ETH towards, you're probably going to a bit of a price discovery, testing those previous all-time highs. But that, of course, functions around with Bitcoin dominance right here. So if we look at Bitcoin dominance, it's Bitcoin futures. Where's the Bitcoin futures gap, by the way? We should have a CME gap, if I'm not mistaken.
The one above us, it's 114 to 116, basically. Go on.
Is that on the 4 hour?
Go on like the 4 hour. You could just, I'm going to teach you something. Go, wait, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Go back. Just click on the chart and type 4. Now type H. Boom.
Oh, you meant like, yeah. Oh,
there's your gap.
Oh, shit.
No. See the big green candle?
I see it right here. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
I'm going to draw it out for the community here. Because I've been looking at the daily, was not looking at the 4 hour there, which clearly is a pretty massive clip. And let's go ahead and highlight that in the orange and delete the previous. So there is a pretty substantial, I mean, it's not even a pretty substantial. I mean, look how substantial that is. And this is the resistance point that we came right back up to earlier. Or this was like 2 days ago. So if we can get back into this range, we're definitely closing that gap up to 116,000. So what we really want to see is this close above that 116,000 level, which I do want to see on the, so here's your Bitcoin dominance. What I want to see on the Bitcoin dominance is going to be weakness on that daily time frame, which clearly, again, you got a bit of a bull div on that RSI, of course, but that daily on the MACD, the stochastic, definitely showing more bearish traction here. And I still have that target. So for me, the target is going to be 56.56 on Bitcoin, which just means dominance. So Bitcoin, again, guys, people need to realize that this cycle, like Bitcoin dominance going down doesn't mean Bitcoin's price is going down and altcoins are going up. It simply could mean Bitcoin's price is going up slower and altcoins are going faster, right? That's also a very big case, or vice versa. So the target here would be 56.56 on the Bitcoin dominance. And then, of course, that ETH BTC 0.052 for ETH BTC, which would be a nice upside rotation for assets moving into October.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think the setup's coming. There's been a lot of different things that I mean, this has been the weirdest cycle ever because we have so many things changing with the landscape, meaning like what the regulations are, the administration, sure, the corporate sort of, I mean, absolutely aping into these corporate treasuries, how much has been being bought there, how much is being bought in the ETFs. Mm-hmm. But then now with the stable coins coming into full focus, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, in addition to the fact that we're seeing, major players in the space like Sergey Nazarov, and we should definitely do some TA on link, but Sergey Nazarov's been meeting with Paul Atkins. He's been meeting with the White House. He's been really trying to, gather exactly what needs to happen for these integrations with blockchain, for RWAs, for all these different things that have been on the horizon for crypto, for the life of crypto, are all literally coming into focus at the same time. That we also get a complete change in what's going on with the trade war, with the deficit, the tariffs, different global conflicts popping up at the same time, and then getting shut down. I mean, it's been a very bizarre time frame to be looking at markets, but I would say still practice caution, but I think there's going to be some really, really high bullishness here. But let's look at the Chainlink chart, because it is looking. It's also much like we saw on. If you have one pulled up, I'll yank it up here.
Yeah. I was looking at because Sergey just actually, I think, they just released a new statement today too. But go for it.
No, but I mean, Chainlink. I mean, it's just like we were seeing, and it's not just Solana, but like we were seeing on Solana, we've seen a multi-year pattern setting up that are breaking out in strong fashion. And it feels like Chainlink hasn't done anything. For those of you that have been around in Chainlink, there was a period back in, May of 2022 all the way through till October 2023, which was not a short period of time if you're holding an altcoin. 531 days of sideways chop consolidation. Just 8 people. And everybody's like, Chainlink's done. It's dead. It's nobody's. Why does it need a token? I just want to cry because I'm mad because my token's not moving. We don't do that shit on this channel, guys. We look for assets that have real integrations, real fundamentals. You look at DeFi Llama, you look at addresses, you look at the way they're getting deployed, you look at all all these things. And Chainlink, in my opinion, is the best buy in the crypto market, despite the fact that it's consolidating a little longer. We have a multi-year trend line. I have it on mine, but let's just keep yours up. That goes back to May of 2021, really locked in March of 2024. And we've broken out of that in a massive, massive symmetrical triangle. I think there's some pretty major upside here, but let's, on the near term, what are you seeing on the near term going in maybe through the end of September with rate cuts and without? But let's be honest, we're getting those motherfucking rate cuts.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people are going to be preparing for a sell the news event on the rate cuts. So it really comes out to how bullish Jerome Powell is coming out of the meeting. The 25 basis points been priced in, right? So I do think you're going to see some upside action towards them, but that's not because of Jerome Powell cutting that in 7 days. It's actually because the technicals are telling, like, look at Chainlink, right? Stochastic, MACD, RSI, all overturning. I am expecting a retest of $27 per link minimum here. But going into the near term, so let's talk about in the next 24 hours or so, a lot of these tokens here, look at the 24-minute, right? If I go down for the 24-minute, probably to even the hourly now, we might have some more selling pressure go in for the next, I would say 4 to 8 hours, maybe some consolidation. But the daily's telling us, the daily and even the weekly are telling us that there is a nice rotation probably back towards that upside. And you can see that in Bitcoin's price. You can see that in Ethereum's price. And you see that, of course, more importantly in the liquidations. I mean, if we just go to the 1 week liquidation time frame, you're going to be seeing, dude, it's so ugly. Look at, like, this is where there is liquidations back at 109, but it's still up at 114. So I want to zoom out to, let's go to the 1 month here. I'm going to guess higher than lower. Yeah, all higher than lower. 120K. 114K, 119K, some major key levels. And yes, there is key levels at 107K, but of course, money wants to attract to where the price is most obtainable. And that is going to be towards these higher levels with liquidation. So for me, it's really just paying attention to the technicals here, which everything is identifying sometime between the next 7 to 14 days, which coincides with the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, which coincides with the economic calendar showing probably positive signs in multiple different key areas, unemployment struggling, etc. You're looking at a bullish upside in September. I mean, people have been saying that September is historically like the worst month for Bitcoin. That's going to crash. Well, newsflash, this was September 1st. Bitcoin right now is up 5% from the bottom on August 31st. So, like, are we going to end up having that catastrophic bearish season in September? Maybe. But right now, the indicators, Kelly, unless you see something else I'm missing here, all the indicators, liquidations, macro overview is saying at least, if we're not consolidating, we're going to see some upward price action into the FOMC meeting. Now, is that going to be a sell the news event? I think that completely depends on the outcome of the Fed's results. So, like, not what's happening with the rate cut. We know what's happening. But it's going to be the terminology and the verbal output that he puts out at his presentation. Is it like dovish now? Or do they finally admit we're in a stagflated environment? We need to bring down interest rates by potentially 3 to 4 times this year.
Does another Fed governor get arrested or charged with mortgage fraud? There's a lot.
Mortgage fraud.
But I think that we had the downish month in August going into the beginning of September. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was going to be a bit choppy into September, kind of leading into the FOMC meeting.
Well, but actually, hold that thought real quick. I want you to keep explaining. I want to hear this through. I want to ask, before you give your full in-depth analysis on it, what chat thinks. So chat, are you bullish or bearish for the month of September? I want to know before Kelly gives you a ton of alpha and changes your mind. I want to make sure everybody's using their own thoughts.
And that would be on the price. That would be on the price from today, not from the start of September, from the price from today. Do we end September above or below the price we are today on Bitcoin and Ethereum? That's the question, right? Coming into the FOMC meeting though, and I think somebody posted this here. We just got a ton of stuff. Somebody asked, somebody said that they think that it's basically for the most part priced in, and that could be the case. If he does go, if they do give a 50 basis point, which is 0.5% cut, that would probably be a pretty big bullish stimulus into the market in terms of upward. If it's only 25 basis point, I think that is still going to be good. But I think that the overwhelming pressures that are coming into the Bitcoin market and the ETH, and then therefore the rest of the space. I think we're going to end September up, and I think we're going to start seeing some fireworks in October. I do not think the 4-year cycle plays the critical role this go around. However, that does not mean that I think that everybody should just throw caution to the wind. And, if you're worried about price action, if you're going to fall victim, if the price turns down and sell lower, then make sure you're taking profits on the way up. Absolutely. Because I do think we're going to see some, depending on how much it pushes up into the, November, October, November, early December, I do think we're going to get a decent pullback that's going to have a lot of people saying, you see, it is a 4-year cycle. And then the market actually then, reverses and rebounds, much like we've seen over and over this cycle in 2026, all the way. I think it's going to go all the way until the end of summer.
Yeah, and I think that what's most important, people too, like for anybody that's tuning in, like your job isn't to predict the future of the market. Your job is just to simply make money. So it's like, if you on a near-term time frame could see a direction or momentum-based movement in the market, take advantage of it, right? Don't be betting on what's going to happen in 2026 or 2027, because there's so many things happening on a macro environment, on a scale of geopolitics, on a scale of artificial intelligence, on the scale of, tokenization. We don't know if the peak's going to be in November. We don't know if the peak's going to be in February. And everybody telling you that it's absolutely guaranteed to do something is honestly selling. They're a car salesman. They're lying to you. Why? I mean, there's already multiple historical data points that suggest we're not in a 4-year cycle. Yes, you still want to follow that same rotation. That's just being smart. It's intelligent to follow the 4-year cycle of liquidity rotation. Because when you look at global M2, when you look at global M1, as money and liquidity enters the market, it usually inflates the price of assets. And so this is why I think Kelly just pulled it up here. Global liquidity continues to make new highs. That is the most bull case possible for institutions. Retail needs to wake up. Retail needs to realize this was never about them. Retail needs to realize that the 99% will never beat the 1%. And that wealth gap is going to continue to widen. It has always widened. It has always existed. And it's always going to continue to exist. So the moment you can finally flip that brain on, the moment you can finally say, you know what, retail's here to lose, institutions here to win, is the time that you're going to start actually being a more profitable trader in crypto, because you can now start looking at all the institutional indicators. Institutions are FOMOing into it. Corporate treasuries are FOMOing into it. Russia is scared that the United States is going to reevaluate its $35 trillion in debt because the Trump administration, which claimed that they're in DeFi and in Web3 for banking because they are tired of being debanked, and now they're doing literally what the banks were doing to them and freezing assets of short-term sellers, et cetera, on their market. There's massive control of liquidity in these markets, and the M2 is going to flow into it. Bitcoin's going to continue to be rotated into, and retail that thinks somehow their altcoin is going to 10x, they're going to be eaten alive. And that's the reality of the situation.
I have the most bullish chart for you yet. I may have shared this with you before, I may not, but look at this chart right here. That's a bunch of lines. What is it, Kelly? Why is it so bullish? So let me drop some knowledge on you real quick. I want you to notice something. This is called the reserve risk chart. Okay. Reserve risk. You can scroll down below. This is on bitcoinmagazinepro.com. You can find these charts for free on there. But reserve risk is a Bitcoin chart that allows us to visualize the confidence amongst long-term Bitcoin holders relative to the price of Bitcoin. So what does this mean? Well, the strength of long-term holders, the confidence of what you're seeing in accumulation addresses. Are they selling? Are they holding? Are they adding to positions? Right. And what we see here, look at 2017. The black line is Bitcoin's price. This metric down here in this green, meaning very good asymmetric, great time to buy zone down here. Look at where we were in the cycle. Okay. Not until we got to this point right here did we really get that parabola to really go. Look at the entire bull run we've had since early January 2023 back here. We have not even left the asymmetric great buying opportunity zone yet. We are nowhere near the top. Now, does that mean we're going to get a parabola? We may or may not. I do think we're going to start getting some continued stair steps that are going to push into areas, whether it's 158,000, 180, 250. We have no idea. But I'm waiting for, who cares what the price says? I'm waiting for the data metrics to start to show that we're getting overheated, and nothing shows it of any kind. In fact, if you come over here to coinmarketcap.com, Again, free tool you can all use. Come here to cryptocurrencies, go to market cycle indicators. And even if you can't read a single on-chain chart, scroll down. Cycle market top indicators, crypto market cycle top indicators. Okay. Have any of the top indicators triggered? No. Okay. Out of 30 top indicators, not a single one is saying, hey man, caution, bro. No. And so I think people are kind of lost in the drama of what we've seen in the historical trends of Bitcoin and altcoins. Well, the altcoins haven't even been around in every Bitcoin cycle. We had Bitcoin, then we had Bitcoin and Doge, then we had Bitcoin, Doge, and ETH, and then the ICO boom. Oh my God, there's like 200 coins. How's the money going to flow? And everybody was so worried about that. Now we've got 14 million coins, and people are still expecting every coin that they have in alt season, everything's going to 100x. No, you're going to be lucky to find in a particular cycle a 7 to 15x from here, and there are going to be coins that do that. And there's going to be some that start to run, you try to jump into it, and then it just goes to absolute looking like a Litecoin chart or looking like a Dash chart or looking like something like that. And it's not to say that those projects don't have good tech. It has to do in crypto, in altcoins, where is the mind share? Where is the narrative getting focused? And that's where capital is also going to flow. So that's what we're seeing right now in the market.
Completely agree. Not a single statement I could take away from that. And it's goes back to the point. And it's, I think the other greatest market cycle top indicator is that institutions are buying and retail's panicking. Retail's the one saying the bull run's over. It's like, think about that for a second. Institutions say it's beginning. Retail saying it's over. I don't know a time in history where that's been correct. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're at today. I think everybody understands this. So, like, what you should be expecting here: Federal Reserve to cut interest rates, deregulation to move forward, more Bitcoin to be added to corporate treasuries, more governments to focus on Bitcoin regulation. I think really what your focus on should be here is accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. And so I want to actually take this in chat. Type 1 in chat if you hold Bitcoin. Type 2 if you don't. Because what people need to realize is stacking sats is more important than ever. Okay? Stacking sats is more important than ever. Why? Most people, 99% I would argue 90+% of crypto traders do not hold Bitcoin. When in reality, yes or no, let me know if this is true. Yes or no, let me know if this is true. If you'd simply put your money in Bitcoin rather than altcoins, you would have made more money. Yes or no? If you'd simply put more money into Bitcoin instead of altcoins, you would have made more money in crypto at this point. Yes or no? Most of you are going to say yes. Most people are not going to put 2 in chat and say they don't hold Bitcoin because they don't want people to know that they don't hold Bitcoin, right? If you were to put more money into Bitcoin and do it over the last 6 years, 7 years, you would have probably saved and had more money in your portfolio today. Now, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, okay? I want to make that clear. I'm not saying go all in on Bitcoin. I'm simply saying Bitcoin is the institutional interest. Bitcoin is the store of value. And all you should be focusing on is how do you make more money in altcoins to rotate it back into what? Bitcoin. If you do so, you're going to perform exponentially well. You look at the other chart. This is a beautiful chart.
Well, this is the others to Bitcoin. So this is everything outside of the top 10 weighed against Bitcoin. And yes, we've gotten a little pump here, but it's still currently down 72% compared to December 2021. So there is, and here's the deal. I talk about altcoins. You talk about altcoins, Josh. We talk about them on the Discover Crypto Morning Show, Blockchain Basement. I love altcoins, but I love altcoins as a vehicle. I would say 97% wise as a vehicle to, do I think this is going to have a run that's going to far outpace in that period of time what Bitcoin's going to do? And it's been frustrating as a mofo since this whole bull cycle, because everybody, even myself, there are periods where we were expecting the same alt season triggers to play out in the same way. And we haven't seen that. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show, the corporate and big money focus because of the clarity around Bitcoin, has shown a lot more capital interest concentrated on Bitcoin this cycle for the most part. Ethereum's now waking up out of that, but we're also getting clarity from the Clarity Act, from the Genius Act, from major ETH treasury companies stacking in. And I think there's a little bit of the expectation now that people are like, it's got to be time now. So people are willing to throw some money into altcoins. The question is going to be, and you have to ask yourself with everything, what is my exit strategy? And you should always have as part of that is, how much of these profits can I rotate, or am I willing to rotate into Bitcoin and not touch for 5, 10, 15 years? If you're not doing that, then you're not really in this market's going to eat you alive.
100%. If you guys want to follow all of our trading calls, if you guys want to follow what we're doing in these markets, make sure you guys come check out the Discover Crypto Discord. You can see it on the screen right now, which is going to be, you got Kelly's Alpha Hub here in the Discover investment groups. If you guys want all of his charts, let me go ahead and add it. There we go. You can see all his charts in the Discover Investors group. See all the alpha he is dropping on signals. Of course, you guys got mine in this is completely free. If you guys want my exclusive updates, my behind the scenes, my calls, it is all in here. I was posting a bunch of times while we were in Bali as well, just giving you guys behind the scenes on what it looked like in Asia. You got John Dalton, you got the Druth, you got tons of content and calls in here, guys. So if you guys want to start catching all of our calls, what we're doing, so you guys don't miss out on trades like this, where I'm up over $3,000 and a single profitable trade, go check it out. Completely free to join. The link's in the description below. Kel, if you got anything you want to hit us with, I think that was an incredible hour stream, brother.
I'm just honored for every single one of you that's here in the Discover Crypto family, BitLab fam, in the Discord. You know, Drew and I very regularly throughout the week do members only morning streams. People that are there in the Discord, we talk about the charts, we talk about the trades we're taking. Drew's in there trading all the time. Josh does live streams in the Discord for the members. That's not on YouTube, not on X. That is extra sort of, hey, here's the call. I'm jumping in this trade right now. Here's why, and just tracking along with it. So we just love all of us here in the Hit Network. All of us have stepped in the stupidest potholes ever. I've lost $100,000 in 2 trades back to back because I was a jackass, because I forgot what you need to have in this market, which is humility and also strategy. I was stacking, wins after wins on spot trading. I said, man, I'm just going to get rich. I'm just going to leverage trade. And I'm not saying absolutely don't leverage trade, but if you're going to leverage trade, you need to do it with the right strategy. And part of that strategy has to be, what's my entry and why? Was I looking for the entry before it presented, or am I jumping in because it's emotional? Also, what's my exit strategy? Before you enter, what are going to be my triggers for exit? What's my process when I exit? How much goes into a long-term hold? How much is going into my wallet so I can not just see numbers on the screen? And how much am I going to leave in my trading portfolio? That way your long-term portfolio grows, your trading portfolio grows, and you got money in your pocket to get out there and buy your dog a new bone or buy your girl a dinner or something, whatever it is. But you got to make sure that you're not just taking screenshots and being proud of what you know, never to having anything to show for it. And that's a reason why we're also adamant about doing this content so regularly, doing it in our private group there in Discover Crypto investment groups, but also all the live streams we do here. But we love you guys. Hit the like button, show some love, hit the subscription button, and we will, I think we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one, guys. Adios. Adios.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.